People deluded, man. Good evening, and I hope you're all doing well. Now, we've seen a lot of Premier League action, including Arsenal versus Spurs. In fact, let's forget what I was going to say. I'm here to speak about Arsenal versus Spurs. No secret by now, I've been watched the game again, and I've got some things or thoughts to offer tactically. Now, first and foremost, I can't lie to you lot. Obviously, it feels like 2 points dropped from an Arsenal perspective. Spurs, that's probably the most toothless Spurs performance we've seen against them in a while. I know last year they weren't technically last year, the same season they weren't at it, but in terms of what Pochettino and Spurs have been about in the last couple of seasons, most unlike Spurs performance, maybe there's some frailties or some in-house issues, but yeah, from an Arsenal's perspective, yes, Spurs were poor, they were there for the taking, and we, between letting ourselves down, poor refereeing decisions and not taking chances, it's 1-1. So yeah, it feels like 2 points dropped where we could have gained all three. That being said, I'm happy with the players. I know Lacazette and Aubameyang didn't take their chances, and Mustafi, obviously, whether you believe it was offside or not, he still made the foul. Again, it was offside, we know. But excluding that, I feel man to a man. To be honest, the game plan worked to a T. I saw, as much as I want to praise, and I'll get onto that, praising Unai Emery for his tactics, the players are the ones that go out there and do that, and the players have to listen to his message. And I think we sat in deep. It was a different Arsenal performance. For instance, I've never seen Leno play the ball so many times. So for long balls and playing out from the back, to see us forget all of that for one game, it was nice to see. And if we could adapt this on a consistent basis, rather than just praise good isolated team individual performances or incidences, will be decent. Unai Emery got his tactics down to a T, in my opinion. Like I said, I think we did very well in terms of it, man. And yeah, firstly, why I think we did very well is Spurs aren't the most creative of sides people, and I do think Pochettino, in hindsight, obviously the players I feel didn't help him out because they weren't at it. They were a bit too defensive. There weren't a need for three defenders. Obviously, it's easy for me to say that in hindsight. But what I liked is, you lot can see everything. Ignore these. These are just some random notes that I left here, innit? But you typically saw this. Now, Jan Vertonghen was the third centre-half, but he was more or less a left-back at that point in the game, to be honest with you. Rose circled here. Obviously, Danny Rose, you've got to get high up the field. They've got to Trippier as well. They've got to provide the width in the Spurs side, to be honest. And if I'm honest, I feel maybe both sides, if they watch the game again, we probably feel we could have done better from wide areas, or both teams really, because it was quite a packed game in terms of the midfield. But because of that and the space vacated, Rose is basically a midfielder. Vertonghen has a lot of time and space to dictate. Now, I think Aaron Ramsey did very well at times to get into this space and to cover down this side. I thought I'd hail up Aaron Ramsey. But big reason as to Spurs played into our hands, in fact, even in the goal, because they had no options for the man in front. Normally, Arsenal in big games, which you've seen, you'd see us press. You'd see us press together. You see us press, and we still pressed at times. But it was, rather than everybody press, it was more of a thing where we'll sit back, we'll allow them to play football between their centre halves and knock it between them, and the nearest person to the ball close down the space. For instance, like I said, they just kept going backwards between Lloris, Vertonghen. It's all past the parcel. And what I liked with us, you saw Mkhitaryan there. Obviously, at times Mkhitaryan would come narrow, as would Iwobi, and would naturally tuck in. But typically, this is what you saw. If we're like this, like I said, they're playing square passes and we're forcing the long balls. How many times did you see Vertonghen play it long? Toby all day was trying to hit them in the channels. That's all they had, really. There's no coincidence Trippier had the majority of the ball, in my opinion, from a Spurs perspective. Now, his issue was end product, and like I said, both teams should have done better on hindsight from wide areas. But like I said, they keep trying to hit the channels, and probably in the 15th minute, the best example of it is how Unai Emery's game plan works. We sat off them, we remained compact. Like you saw, you had Xhaka and Guendouzi. Whenever we're out of possession, obviously this ain't to scale, but whenever we're out of possession, we'd sit. You'd see a bank, you'd see a flat bank sort of thing. You'd see a narrowness, and from an Arsenal side that doesn't do that enough, it was good. But because of this and marking out the spaces, and again, not to scale, so you can't really see it. Well, Eriksen's here. Eriksen couldn't get onto the ball. Ramsey's pressed Wanyama, who's not the most expansive anyways. Sissoko's here, again, not the most expansive. A strong carrier with the ball, but not necessarily the most expansive. Eriksen, as a result, cannot get onto the ball. Neither can Son. And like you saw, for me, I think we worked it to a T. I think we forced Spurs to play it long, and we conceded with Koscielny, Socrates, and even Mustafi at times. We relished the in-air battles with Kane, and we won quite a few of them, and Kane gave as good as he got. But the majority of the time, you're seeing Kane work himself. He's having to hold on people's shoulders. He's having to work channels or come inside. So I think we did very well. But in the 15th minute, what did you see? We were forcing them to play it back. Eventually, they went long. They tried to hit Kane. Obviously, again, it's not to scale people, but they tried to hit Kane. You obviously saw Kane, more or less, the ball was played into him. I think they were so frustrated, they hit a ball out to Trippier. Trippier played it into Kane. Kane probably took one touch too many, forced himself out wide. Obviously, my man here, let's use the red one, Xhaka at this point was over here quickly when we intercepted it from Kane. And what did you see? Instantly, Xhaka played it into, again, it's not to scale, but he played it into this man right here in Lacazette. Now, Sanchez was silly because Sanchez came tight. There was obviously a space for this man here to exploit, and he did very well. But I think that's the best example because we were just forcing long balls. Vertonghen long. To be fair, I didn't see Sanchez do it too many times, but Toby long. They didn't have, whoever got in the midfield was just trying to hit the flank. Centrally, I feel Spurs let themselves down, and maybe that highlights the case of Spurs might need someone that can create play from deep, because Eriksen, obviously, Wanyama's marked out the game anyways, and he's not the most expansive under pressure, so Eriksen can't get onto the ball. Eriksen's having to come deep. Now, as an Arsenal fan, that's good, but you, as a Spurs fan, you don't want Eriksen here. Now these men don't have a snowball's chance of getting involved in play. And just as a better example, possibly, people, I don't know, again, not to scale, and I've had to draw them in. In fact, you can't even see it. Forget it, people. All I was going to do is say, if you imagine Rose here and Iwobi here, I tried to draw it in because I've ran out of these things, but you had Rose and Iwobi here. Rose is in black, but from an Arsenal perspective, that shape was, from an Arsenal nice point of view, it was good to see that shape. Now, if you just keep your eye on Iwobi and imagine he's still there, people, it was lovely to see this as an Arsenal perspective because we outnumbered Kane, again, not to scale, but Kane and Son, we outnumbered them. So we could concede any cross that came into the box. Socrates is going to relish it in the air with Kane. You're going to see the same. Obviously, at times, what I also liked is Mustafi actually coming, tucking in. You actually had Mkhitaryan tucking in as well. And you had Iwobi tucking in. And to be honest, from an Arsenal's perspective, an Arsenal fan point of view, we don't see that enough. Like I said, we conceded, we dropped back, and you can't see it, but when Yama's there, we let them do whatever the hell they wanted to do here. We just knew we'd close down spaces. We'd shuffle across properly and just close down the spaces, and in either direction. We knew if we just hold our space, we'll soak up pressure, and we'll battle, we'll concede that, we'll allow them to have it with Trippier out here, or Vertonghen, let me be Rose for a sec, or Rose out here, and knock it into Kane. We'll relish that sort of thing, because in the midfield there wasn't anything there from Spurs, and Kane is having to really, I don't know if you can see it, he's working on shoulders, people, really and truly. He's working either channel. Obviously, centrally is 2v1. We're ganging up on him. And it doesn't matter how good you are, he didn't have a sniff. If we're honest, Kane didn't have the best of games today, despite the goal. And to be fair, neither did our strikers, so it is what it is. 23rd minute as well, Kane's goal that was offside. Watching the game again, the set piece, ironically, that could have shown the things to come. If you look at that, Mustafi's actually pushing Kane, and he's actually pushed him, and he's got marked offside. I don't know if he's trying to do the same thing in the second half, when obviously it didn't happen for us. But yeah, should have done better. In the build-up to our penalty that we obviously didn't take advantage of, I really liked Mkhitaryan. He capitalised on a misplaced pass from Vertonghen and was able to skill him up. How Vertonghen doesn't get booked for that, I'm not sure, because he's evidently clearly pulling Mkhitaryan back. Also, watching the penalty again, Vertonghen's in the box, like before, more or less before Aubameyang's even kicked the ball. And as obviously I'm not going to be biased, I feel Xhaka clamped in the 12th minute or something. He absolutely kicked Kane. I feel quite a few Rose got away with a naughty one. Quite a few players got away with naughty things. Ramsey, for instance, Trippier, it's not a foul. The ref really didn't have a clue. I'm not going to lie, Aubameyang, it would have been justice served because Kane's was in a penalty, but Aubameyang's penalty wasn't a penalty either. The ref really and truly, the ref was a disgrace. I don't like to be personal to people's profession, and we all make mistakes, but there's too many mistakes from both teams, really and truly. You know you've actually messed up when Jermaine Genius is actually backing an Arsenal player as well, people, in my opinion. There isn't, to be fair, man, it's more on watching the game again. I credit Unai Emery for the game plan and how we went out there, but I do think we could have asserted ourselves offensively. For as much as decent as I think we were, I can't name more than about 3 things off the top of my head, that Lloris had to make, so we possibly could have done better. Think we could have used wide areas better. That being said, when we did use them, you saw like Monreal combined it well when Lacazette missed a sitter in the 52nd minute. Could have probably done that. Maybe we were a bit too defensive, I'm not too sure. But it's more Spurs. If I'm Spurs, I'm quite upset with how their midfield played. It looked like there was no bravery, there was no cutting edge, there was like mainly no bravery, no final pass in the final, no quality of pass in the final third, no real final ball, no real option bar trying to find Kane and Eriksen or just playing it out wide. And as Trippier was appalling with his final delivery, but Trippier it's similar to Arsenal's parallels when Cole is on the field. If Trippier is your most creative player at times, you're in trouble. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Spurs would take the draw because obviously it is what it is. I feel the ref really has to have a look at himself, because I don't feel he had the best of games for both sets, to be honest with you. And it's true what Arsene Wenger said, to be fair with you, is how it's not a coincidence how in the World Cup there was no English referees allegedly. So what can I say, man? It was more, yeah, man. I feel both teams, looking at it again, gave as good as they got centrally as well. I feel Ramsey did a good thing for us sitting in. I feel Ramsey, I forgot to actually talk about him in my player ratings. I give him a 7-8. I feel Ramsey was very good off the ball. He came in and he mucked it in, because obviously they had Wanyama, Sissoko and Eriksen when he's involved. It became quite crowded in here, to be fair with you. I feel Iwobi, as he needs to keep his standards up as he gets tired. That's one of my pet peeves with Iwobi, because he was just taking that bit too long to track back. The one thing I'd say with Socrates as well, obviously, for me, he had a terrific game, but watching the game again, I didn't even realise he was actually the one that gave away the free kick for the goal. It was offside and all them things as well. But Socrates, if I'm hypercritical, I love that he's aggressive and he had a terrific game, like I said. But sometimes he gives away them silly sort of fouls and it comes back to haunt you. If he doesn't give that foul away, Mustafi possibly doesn't give the penalty away, even though it was offside. But that's just me picking at straws. Mr. My Man Mkhitaryan here, down here, cutting in. Add my man on toast. It was a very good. He's probably my man of the match watching the game again. Same way with Ramsey, to be fair with you. I feel they both. In fact, no, I'm not going to lie. Socrates is my man of the match with Koscielny. In fact, they're all my man of the matches, man. I feel Socrates, Koscielny, Mkhitaryan and Ramsey in particular. So, yeah, man, it was a decent game. But I feel more so. What I liked in short, people, to like as a taken home point, I liked how normally when we're brave in big games or we have a game plan, it's more of an everyone press sort of thing. Like we'd all press. This time it was interesting because we conceded to sit back and let them play and just strategic pressing rather than pressing together sort of thing. The amount of long balls, like I said, from Leno, sorry I keep calling him Lloris, into many different avenues. Of course he played short at times. Well, Monreal's not out there. He played short at times, but from Leno's point of view, or what Unai Emery's been trying to put his authority on in terms of playing out from the back, it was nice to see him concede his principles to try and do something else. I felt sorry for him because I feel he did what he could from a tactical point of view. He can't factor in, obviously, our strikers missing chances. He can't factor in linesmen being incompetent, and obviously Mustafi, for no reason, barging, regardless of him being offside or not. He shouldn't be doing that. He can't factor in that. But I feel he got his game plan on point. I feel bringing on Torreira when he did, I would have started him, but I could see the angle once he brought him on, that added security sort of thing when Spurs have tired legs. Obviously, Lacazette was quite tired. Looked like he was tiring for me and was missing sitters, so I didn't have any problem with him coming off. You lot know I'm a big fan of his. I feel he got his game plan well because obviously Torreira, there's solid things up and stuff. We know that the striker in our team today is just going to have to run. Aubameyang's coming on when there's tired legs in that back 3, 4 depending on how you, well 5 depending on how you want to count it. So I think he got it down to a T. I feel he was let down. He can't factor in we can't get away with Aubameyang. That was a poor miss. I mean, a poor run up. He didn't look confident. It is what it is. I stand by him, but we have to call it. Lacazette should have taken his chances. We probably should have created more chances, and Mustafi should have done better in his incidences. But that being said, the main factor for both teams, regardless of if Spurs were poor and Arsenal were poor in some incidences, for me is the referee. The referee really has to look at himself. I understand we're humans, we all make mistakes, but really, I felt it was a nice cagey game, but I felt he probably had too much of an impact on the game, more so than you need from a referee. He's there to officiate, and I do think too many of these referees, indirectly or directly, linesmen included, want to be stars. Well, it is what it is, man. 1-1. Both sets of fans live to fight another day. Agendas don't get to run. Match of the day can be watched. On that note, though, I'm going to get out of here. So, people, deluded, comment, subscribe, and do the rest. Thank you for watching. It's been so uncomfortable sitting like this. Obviously, we're working with limited resources. My neck is killing me, but I'm out.